wheels of business keep running in a firm and not completely cut it off and shut it off. This was the recommendation given by the Banking Law Reforms Committee in its report in November 2015 due to the huge amount of NPAs which were mounting. People were talking about recapitalizing the banks in those days. I am telling in 14-15, recapitalizing the banks, we need 25,000 lakh crores to recapitalize all the banks, all those things happened. At that point in time, the Banking Law Reforms Committee gave this report. Taking the cue from the report, the government started to work on the new law for the recovery of debts. Recovery of debts is too little, too late, which we have seen. Debt market is completely closed, other than because the NBFC route, the parallel economy route is already closed from the year 90s. From the early 90s, it is already closed. So there wasn't any avenue for the debt market to improve, and the bond market in India was in a very premature stage, and the players were not very confident to see whether the bond market would actually succeed in India or not. And always you have this bottomless pit called the bank's recovery. Whatever money came into the account of the enterprise, it was sucked by the banks for the interest overdue and the other things, which is the contract made by the company and the banks. And of course, the global index, the global ease of doing index was in a very bad state. So people were not willing to give the foreign funds. ECB were not easily coming into India. Even though it is LIBOR plus 2%, ECB was not coming into India. FDI was coming into India only for that specific purpose. For the Indian enterprises, Indian companies, there was no cheap loans coming from outside of India. Of course, the Reserve Bank had a number of restrictions in their FDI policy also. All these things were there. And most importantly, which our institute has also raised time and again with the government, the whole lending process was only on balance sheet driven. The lending process was only on balance sheet driven mechanism and not on the liquidity based mechanism. There we saw overstating of stocks, understating of purchases, all these things which came about is only because the loan giving was only based on the balance sheet strength and not on the inherent strength of the company. If I had 10 crores of stock, I'll get about on the 6 crores of loan. Even the company did not bother to, even the banks did not bother to see whether the stocks were all recoverable, they were all alive. No, it had its own mechanism. Let us not go into it. And there was no early warning solution. Till the 90th day, the banks are not supposed to do anything. They have to sit and watch. If a person is having heart attack, third attack, till the final attack comes, you have to sit and only watch. You should not give him any tablets. You should not give him any medication. No medical treatment. You have to watch. 90th day, yes, now you have got heart attack. That was the situation which we had. That had to change. That had to change in order to businesses to know. In fact, in many of the cases, the businesses themselves did not know the fact that they were sinking. They had, every business, even now in practice, what we say is, every company has a reason. Every company has a genuine reason. 2015 floods, demonetization, because of which my buildings have not been sold. Because of GST, I am unable to sell the flats. Because of GST, I have a cash flow problem here. I am unable to take the projects forward. All these things may be genuine issues, but what to do? There has to be a resolution somewhere. So now here, from a balance sheet driven test, you go into the intrinsic value of the company. You do a valuation of the company. As soon as an interim professional is appointed, the first thing he does is to appoint valuers. You value the property. The stock may be obsolete stock, carried on the book value or carried on the market value, whatever it is. It is all obsolete stocks, but if you sell it now, you might not realize it, especially in the electronics industry. Yesterday's model is today's history. All those models will not work. So there has to be a genuine valuation. There has been a realistic valuation to see what is the value of the company, and from the value of the company, whether the IRP or the resolution professional is able to raise finances outside and revive the company must be the first idea of any professional here. And in these places, you know who are the best person to suit it. Multiple laws are there. We will see. Multiple forums are there. Right, right from your local police station to the courts, High Court, Supreme Court, Economic Offences Court. You have n number of court. If a person makes any issue with respect to repayment of money, he will have to visit at least 7 different courts. Now, apart from that, you have the money laundering court also coming here. The money laundering court asking, how are you able to finance your professionals to handle your case? You have to explain. That is the situation we have. Multiple forums for the same problem. I have not repaid my deposit. For the same problem, you have 5 different places where you have to answer. And apart from that, our neighbors are also very liberal in making the situation very uncomfortable for the entrepreneurs and the business owners. I'm not trying to blame them. I'm not trying to tell what they are doing is wrong. Even if it is a genuine case, it is actually becoming a problem for the business people. So if you see the multiple acts, the Companies Act is there, the SICA is there, RDDBFI is there, SARFAESI Act. Again, you have to go to each of the places. Forum, you have to go to the High Court, BAFR, DRT, ART, and again individuals. For individuals, if you see 1909, you have an act. 1909 Act was repealed in the year 2016. And you still have cases pending in it. All these cases all this act had to be satisfied if a person makes a default. That is why our elders used to say, please don't borrow money. Try to live within your means. Even if it is a small business, you do within your means, you don't borrow money. If you borrow money and if something goes wrong, you have to undergo all these issues and all these acts. Now everything has been consolidated, repealed, structured in a way that everything falls into place in the Insolvency Bankruptcy Code. If you want to dissolve a company, if you want to dissolve a running company, you cannot do, liquidate a running company, you cannot do under the Companies Act 2013. No, you have to come under the Insolvency Act and only close the matter. Otherwise, you cannot, because the sections from the Companies Act 2013 have been removed and have been inserted in the code. So the creditor in control. So the creditor in control, what happens is, movement of creditor in control we have seen. In a creditor in control situation, what happens? The promoters continue to be in control, but they have very limited role to play. The checks have to be authorized by the creditors. The checks have to be authorized by the insolvency professional who are appointed by the committee of creditors. Any interim finance has to be raised by the insolvency professional in consultation with the committee of creditors, and the debtor will only nod his head. For a secured financial creditor, because in India you have a very unique situation where even for corporate setup you have a security, the private personal guarantees of the directors, of the family of directors. The wife of the director also is one of the personal guarantors by this thing in order to take the loan in banks. It is a unique situation. I am not trying to say whether it is a right situation or a wrong situation. Where the limited liability concept is slightly diluted here to say that even the others will come into place for the secured. In order to protect that area alone, it says that where the secured financial creditors who have the right to repossess the asset of the defaulter. In reality, what we have seen is there are situations where the secured creditor says, I don't want to repossess the asset, I will put the asset in the common hodgepodge and I will take the money after it is being sold. Reason? The liability for the financial creditor in a secured asset is say X crores. But the security will yield only X minus Y crores. Outside the security, you have enough assets which are not linked to the security. That will have more value. So it is prudent for the secured creditor to release the security, put the security in the common hodgepodge, and once the common hodgepodge is settled or sold, he will be able to get his X and not X minus Y. Are you able to appreciate this point? Anyone needs a clarification on this? No. All such unique situations will come only in the insolvency bankruptcy court, where the banker will say, I don't want to enforce the credit, I don't want to enforce the security, please keep the security with yourself. I will say, I don't want the security, sir, you are a secured creditor, you take the security, satisfy yourself. No, I don't want, I will give it in writing. I will give it in writing that I don't want to enforce this security. I will release the security for which you only give me a special status with respect to repayment. That is allowed. In a liquidation situation where there is waterfall, how in the present situation in the waterfall, what happens? Who is the first person taking the money? Sorry? Government is the first person taking the money. All your service tax, sales tax, income tax person will come. He will take the money. அதுக்கப்புறம் ஏதாவது மிச்சம் இருந்ததுன்னா we will see for others.